if I need my phone for my talk tonight? Is it okay if I leave it on?
Sorry, okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so sorry I was late tonight. I hit some unexpected traffic issue, so I do apologize. But thank you for your patience. So everybody know the title for tonight? What are we going to study or talk about? It's called Honoring Our Parents. And what we're going to talk about tonight comes from primarily the Spirit's book and the Gospel, plus some stuff that from some other books. But bear with me, I'm just trying to find my PowerPoint here. Is everybody ready for Christmas? Yeah? So when we think of parents, we think of family, right? There we go. So parents are what to most of us? Right? They gave us life, yeah? They mom carried us, dad provided in a traditional sense. But there's so many different forms of family now, right? Different views, different elements to it. But ultimately, when we talk about honoring our parents and family, we do think of the person that brought us into the world and their partner, or the family that adopted us, right? Or the place that we grew up. And the simplest way of honoring family, honoring parents, I shouldn't say simplest, but there's different ways we honor them. How many of us honor them by some of the things we do today? Our habits, our beliefs, our politics. How many of you believe just like your parents did? Anybody? Some people do, yeah. Some do, some don't. The ones of you that don't believe like your parents, does that create strife at home when you go home for Christmas? If you have different political views than your father? In my house, it does. My dad's really far one way, and my sister's another way. I'm kind of in the middle, so it's interesting. But we honor our parents or our upbringing or our heritage in many different ways. If you're from a certain descent, you root for that soccer team, yeah? Don't come to my house for a soccer game and don't root for Brazil, right? Because all my family's Brazilian, yeah? Except for me, I'm the gringo in the house. So it's really bad when Brazil plays America, you know? I'm rooting for America and everybody else is rooting for Brazil. Right. But we honor these people that gave us life in many different ways. How many of us, when we think of our parents, also see things in the way we are that we maybe don't like, right? Attributes or qualities or things we perceive as negatives, and we blame our parents. Does that happen for some of us? I have that, right? I'm getting over it. I was 53 yesterday, so when I was 33, I had a lot of dad issues, but now I'm 53 and I have less. Maybe because I have my own kids now. I don't know. But if we are carrying grief or angst against our parents in any way, it impacts us on a daily basis. So one of the best ways to honor our parents, especially when there's negative impact still to this day in some shape or form, is very simple. Ultimately, and this is going to sound maybe too simple or not honoring, but at the end of the day, our parents gave us life, right? It's that simple, right? We know, right, that we are spirits, right? We're eternal. The life that I live today, the skin that I'm in today, the body that I have today, began at conception, developed in this life, and when I die, this body is gone, right? My spirit, however, has been around for a long time, many lives. I have many more lives to come, thanks to reincarnation and the law of progress. But in this one life that I'm living right now, the only honor, true honor, right, that I really have to give my parents is thank you for life. They didn't, whatever happened, whatever needed to happen occurred to bring me into this life. The things that are happening since are up to me, right? And I honor them simply by thanking them. For many, many years, for decades, I was mad at my father, and I won't go into all the details. They didn't come here to hear my story. But there was issues, right, with me and my dad. And what I've learned from that experience is my dad is my dad, right? He is who he is. A lot of the good things that I am stem from some things he taught me. Some of the bad things that I held on to, right? Even though they may have originated in that relationship from his actions, more importantly, they carried on, they perseverated because of my ties to them, my unwillingness to let them go, my unwillingness to accept them. So when I was able to simply thank my dad and my mom for life and realize that they're their own people and I'm my own person and living my own eternity, right? That was the easiest way for me to move on from some of those things. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does, and it doesn't seem too simple. But let's talk about the family tonight a little bit. So, the family, as we think about this, right, it's supposed to be, and it is in a lot of ways, a safe fortress for us, right, to protect us from the outside world. If you think about the first, and I guess today, if you think about the first 20-something years of life, right, kids really rely on their parents. If we go back just a couple of generations, you were an adult and had your own kids by the mid-teens, right? Things have changed. But whatever generation we're in, the family in the beginning is responsible for quite a few things, right? The resources they provide, right? Psychological maturity. Thank you. Do I look better now with less light? Yeah, good. All right. I look 43, yeah? Not 53. Psychological maturity. What else do they give us? Knowledge and experience. Theirs, right, that they lived, right? I'm 53. I have a 12-year-old and two 11-year-olds. I'm imparting on them for the last so many years, as long as they've been alive, my knowledge and experience along their path. But at that same time, they're gaining knowledge and experience, kind of at my direction to some degree, but it's kind of mixed, right? We're also the primary school for their personalities foundation, right? The way the parents interact with their children, the way they discipline, the way they educate, the way they communicate, and in the ways that they don't, right, in a lot of ways, all play a part in the personalities foundation. So essentially, in its effective development, right, parents are integral. Whether that's in a traditional family, a non-traditional family, if whether the child grew up in a facility or institution of some kind, right? There's figures in these child's lives that are responsible for many of these things. Uh-oh. How about this? Why is it not working, Peter? Maybe because there's too many windows open?
Maybe.
Help me, please. You're a genius. Thank you. They also talk about, this is from Constellation, one of the books I've read preparing for this. They talk about the enduring family, right? So although the family constellation is a transient experience in the sense that of the spiritual evolution, because my spirit in this life is totally, not totally different, but it's definitely different in this life than it was 3 lives ago, 100 lives ago, right? So it's a transient experience. The experiences in the childhood that happen become perennial in the sense that the experiences early on from those parents will carry on, not only in that life, but the character that's formed, the experiences that happen, it does stay with you throughout many lives. But specifically in this life, those early years are that foundation, obviously. So question 766 of the Spirits book asks this question. Is societal life natural? In other words, we know that we live many lives. We know that the family is very important in those developmental years. But as we grow, as we get older, how important does society's influence on that family unit is it, and is it essential? Is it natural? And the answer that we're given for this is certainly, right? God has made, you know what, I think we skipped a couple slides, Peter, is why that doesn't make sense. Sorry, guys. See what happens when you hit traffic? You lose it all. My apologies. So, when Kardec asked the spirits this question, the answer he was given is it's family's important, society's influence is important, certainly, right? We've been designed to live in a society. If we were to break apart from the family or break apart from society, we'd basically be isolated. And without society's influence, without the family's influence or society's influence on the family, what happens, right? We don't develop friendships, we don't develop relationships, and we're progressing by ourselves, right? Which I guess we could do slowly, but it's the influence of all these other people on us that help us progress. We can't do it alone, in other words. There was one point in my life where I wanted to disappear. I was going to buy a sailboat, and I was just going to sail away, right, and be the captain of my own destiny, my own ship, right? But what does that do, right, for me? Yeah, I learned how to sail better, and I'll probably learn how to fish better, and I won't have any traffic, right? But I'm not going to interact with anybody, right, at all. And if I don't have the ability to interact with you guys, or vice versa, we're not growing, we're not helping each other. I can't make choices when I'm by myself in that sense. I have nobody to hurt or not hurt, no one to hurt me or not hurt me. All these things that we face that are what we consider trials or hardships, they help us grow. And we wouldn't have those if we were isolated. And this goes on with more of what we've been talking about. Individually, we just wouldn't contain a full range of faculties. It's the family's dynamics, it's the society's influence that help each of us develop and grow. Question 774 asks, there are people who infer from animals abandonment of their offspring that the family ties among humans are merely a result of social customs and not a natural law. What should we make of this? That's a great question, right? Because as we were talking about, right, it'd be great sometimes just to take off and be isolated. And a lot of people use this argument about animals, that what we've done on Earth, staying together, colonizing, and staying close to family, it's just simply, it's a cultural thing. It's just something that we do. And this is a great answer. And it reminds us just how important we are and how different we are, right? In the sense that we just have a different destiny, right? Animals, if you think about it, rely on instinct, and their only requirement, right, is basically reproduction, to keep the species alive. But for humans, it's not just physical, right? It's a need to progress, and these social ties are essential for that progress. Not only is this important to the development of the individual, it's important for society. It's a natural law, right? God has willed that humans learn to love one another as brothers and sisters. So if we were to not spend time together, if we were not to dwell in societies, if we were to just be independent, there wouldn't be this opportunity to grow and to love. There's as much angst as there is in the world today. Would you agree that it's a much more peaceful place than it was 200 years ago? 100 years ago? It is, right? But yet every day we read and view things that would make you think we're falling apart. And yeah, there is a lot of strife in the world. But little by little, as a planet, as a society, we are elevating to being more peaceful. And at some point, we will truly treat each other as brothers and sisters. It'll be much more blissful. So they go on to tell us that the home is a tiny representation of society. And it should be constructed in such a way that naturally stretches out to the social group towards all of humanity. The things that we learned at home, right, that carry with us, right, for years sometimes. There's habits that I have today that I definitely formed in childhood at the influence of my parents, right? If we didn't have this, right, these habits, right, there would be this lacking, if you will. Those habits that we learn, the way we interact with society, do one of two things if you think about it. They lead to our harmonious interaction with the world around us, or they lead to the difficult, the lack of harmony in relationships. So what we learned at home and the way that carries over into society leads us into these decisions where we make and how we interact. And those choices that we make, obviously, can lead to happiness and harmonious interaction with others, or conflict. I don't know about you guys, but I want harmony in my life. And the older I get, the more harmony I want. Conflict is good in some ways because we grow out of it. But what I'm learning is try to not avoid conflict, but how to make choices that lead to happier outcomes. But that's a process, right? They remind us that there's always going to be clashes in families, in society, because there's different types of people everywhere. Even though we're the same, think about this. We are all eternal spirits in a human body, living an individual life. But we've all got these past experiences, right? So even though we were created equal in the sense of when we were created, we lacked knowledge and we were very simple. Subsequent lives, we grow in character and morality, in knowledge, and that carries through each successive life. But each of us in the room are at different points on this spectrum, or this graph, if you will, this development, or this progress of evolution, if you will, as far as our morals and our spiritual development, which simply means that even though we started in the same place, we're in completely different levels of progress on this path. So yes, we're the same, but we're all at different levels of this, which to me explains why. You ever hear people, and I was guilty of this in the past, life isn't fair. I've got the worst luck. Or that guy, he's so lucky, right? Everything good happens for him. Do you guys believe in luck? I used to. Maybe still a little bit sometimes when my scratch-off pays, you know. Kidding, I don't really play. But the point is, there all these differences that seem to make us seem like some people are lucky, or some people are better off or worse off. They're simply the current situation in the lives that we've led. We've all put ourselves where we are, right, based on our previous choices. And we're all moving towards the same path, which is that spiritual perfection, right, growing and becoming a pure spirit. And wherever we are today, right, and the choices we make leads to the next element of that. And I think that's very important that we be thankful for clashes, right? Clashes are that opportunity where we can grow and evolve. So, the family constellation has to be based must be based on feelings of affection, right? Without fuzziness and indiscipline, and without rigidity, right? Parents have the duty to determine a child's spiritual level, their aspirations, their possibilities. Parents should not postpone or transfer this to other people, right? That maternal relationship is really important. And this doesn't have to be maternal mother in the true sense or the literal sense of the word. We have many different types of family structure now. It's not that one father, one mother outlook or the way it was historically, right? This maternal figure can have different shapes, if you will, or different looks. But whoever that influence is on the child, they have a critical role in helping them develop emotional security, right? As well as helping the child maintain joy, right? If there's an absence of that mother figure, right, it can be commonly identified as a key factor in depressive disorders, abandonment issues, unconscious bitterness, feelings of helplessness. Scary stuff, right? But it's real. The home shouldn't simply be a place of duties, but we should also try to make it a place of joy. How many of you go home for the holidays and just feel complete joy? Many people do. Some people go home and they don't have this sense of joy. There's angst, there's concern, there's unfinished issues. And that stems from experiences at a younger age in our early development that create this fear, if you will, right? But ultimately, as a parent, it's our responsibility, right, to provide a joy of living and a feeling of family, of experiencing good times, planning festivities, leading to good social relationships. Even though we all are busy and it's difficult, we have all of our own financial concerns, our time concerns, our career concerns. At the end of the day, if we wind up in the position of a parent, whether that's by choice, by accident, by circumstance, we have a responsibility, a duty, if you will, to create joy in the lives of the children that we're responsible for. They also tell us that the home should possess a pleasant and a balanced emotional climate, right? It shouldn't be a place filled with discontent, complaints all the time, right? We definitely have problems, we definitely have issues, but they should be examined with a naturalness, right? Without extremes or rebellion or concealment. In other words, there are situations that arise in homes, in life, right? Where you can react extreme one way or the other, but what they're telling us here is it should be balanced, right? With an emphasis on not going to those different extremes. And ultimately, right, they tell us that without trust and loyalty, right, the family destabilizes, leading to collapse. Communication, they tell us, is key, as is honesty. And that's hard. Granted, there's age-related conversations, and it's a balance for me. I can remember how I grew up and knowing what I know now, things I wish I had been told in a certain way or whatever, not blaming or finding fault, but I know there's things I'm trying to do as a parent to help my kids, but there's still that, well, how much do you tell a 10-year-old? How much do you tell a 12-year-old? But if you find a way to do that with honesty and open communication, it makes working together, not only in the early years, but later years, much easier. And good results are more likely if we have that openness and that honesty. Obviously, keeping in mind those age-related conversations. And I love this one, because for a while, though, we had a democracy in my house. Right? 5 of us, well, 6 if you count the dog, right? But he always votes with my wife, so I'm even more outnumbered. But it dawned on me at some point, and this slide reminded me of it. Kids are kids, right? And parents are parents, right? We have responsibility. And kids don't have to participate in all of the serious discussions simply because they want to, right? Based on their age, based on their experience level, they should be included, not disregarded. But there are things that parents have to decide that kids don't necessarily get a vote. And that, it's hard, obviously. Many of you are parents, you know what I mean. That's not to say, though, that you shouldn't have forthright and open dialogue about issues, right, to solve problems, right? Whether this is in the house or it's at work or at school, the more forthright and open dialogue that you can have is always a good way for them to learn how to solve problems in their life. The experience at home, they tell us, right, will transfer automatically to relationships outside of the home. So if we have the ability at home, think about the parents, right? Husband and wife or whatever the relationship is. If mom and dad resolve conflict with fighting and bickering, what do the kids learn? Fighting and bickering. What if mom and dad are kind of passive aggressive, right? So they avoid and then they clash. What do they learn? They learn that. What if mom and dad don't talk about things at all in front of the kids? What do they learn? You don't talk about your problems, right? It's such a balance, right? The key here is to realize that what's happening at home transfers to them, and that's how they're going to integrate into the world. And I'm not preaching at all, but I would encourage anyone that's a parent that's not sure about some of this stuff. There's great books, there's great resources. When I was in college years ago, I was like a nanny to some kids. They had lost their father. The mom was a friend of my friend. She wanted a man in the house, not that was a love interest. So I lived in the house. I took him to school. And that's when it clicked for me that I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? I was in my 20s. I wanted to be a father someday. And man, I just didn't know what to do. But I sought out help at that point professionally so I could get a handle on what happened to me in my childhood and how that was transferring in this parenting type of role. And I wanted to fix it before I became a parent years later. So I would encourage anybody that struggles with this or is not sure about it, there's resources out there to grow past it. In addition to reading books like this, there's professional help as well. And the point they make here about this collective consciousness is the family really is the result of participation of all its members in events. How many of you, and you don't have to answer out loud, but how many of us sit down consistently at least once a day with the family? It's hard today, right? Right? It's hard. We're busy. We're all over the place. I've got 3 little kids, right? 2 of them in elementary school, 1 of them in middle school. They've got book bags, right, that are like this fat, this long, and I don't know how they walk with them on their back. Juliana fell off her bike the other day because her backpack was too heavy, right? She turned too much and she went down. My point is, children are more busy today than I remember being as a kid. Adults, right? Most of us work or live in homes where both parents work. Some of us are single parents, doing it all on our own, right? There's just a lot going on. But it's critical, right? They tell us that this collective consciousness shouldn't be ignored. We need to find a way to have everyone participate. And it's not going to be 24/7, but if we can try to find time to make sure that there's some order to the house, that there's affection and respect, right? And you can't do that if you don't spend time together. But it's definitely harder today than it was just a generation ago. How many of you turn off your phones at the dinner table or the breakfast table? I got up early this morning. I had some stuff I wanted to get done. And man, if I didn't waste 45 minutes on social media, it just sucked me in, right? Some of it was important, but then you get off on tangent. So what we try to do at the house is no electronics at the table. And most days we get that done. The other thing they talk about here that I think is important to point out is exclusion of family members, right, that are unable to adjust. Do we all know someone, it doesn't have to necessarily be our family, but do we know a family where there's a member of the family that they just don't fit and they're kind of excluded? It happens, right? I have a sister that we get along great now, right? But you never know about tomorrow, right? There's clashing sometimes. But at different points in my life, I was either on her list or off her list. And if you're off her list, right, excluded by her, the other family members, they didn't ignore you, but they tried not to let her know that they were tight with you because then you might wind up on her list, if you know what I mean. So this reminds me heavily of that. But we're instructed, right, or it's encouraged not to do that, right? If they're unable to adjust to the family working together, it's got to be avoided. They have to be included. Rather, they should be considered as in need of understanding as opposed to the bearer of obstacles. You taught me a very valuable lesson with one of your lectures. It wasn't a family member, but you talked about a boss that just never gave you a good assignment. He always had you in the sun, and you were mad initially. You were cranky about it, but one day you flipped the switch, and you said, you know what? I'm just going to think positive things. I'm going to pray for him, right? And I did that with my sister, and it changed everything. So thank you, right? Instead of being mad at her and angry, I simply prayed for her and loved her, whether she was talking to me or not. And so far, I'm not on her list, right, since then, so thank you, all right? But the key here is antipathy and hostility should be avoided by all means. Because ultimately, what are we, right? We've already talked about this. The family is composed of spirits. Your biological parents gave you life, no doubt about that. And for that, be grateful. Respect them for that. Thank you for giving me life. But the family you're in, the family you're growing with, the family that you're tied to now, right? Is it just you and them? Right? No. We are composed of spirits, the family, right? I am in a body, my wife is in a body, right? The kids are in a body. But the spirits that are connected to that body via the paraspirit, right? And that connection have lived many, many lives, right? In many cases, maybe lives with those other spirits in different roles, if you will, or different relationships. People or spirits that you've done harm to in the past or been involved with in different ways. The key with this is there's various origins of those spirits that are in the family today, right? They may owe you a debt. You may owe them a debt. They're going to present with different personalities, different reactions to you. Some of them might be grumpy with you, or they might have animosity towards you. They might never be happy, right? How many of us have a family member or a friend that's just never happy, right? Those people exist, right? We have to learn to interact with that. Some spirits are aggressive. Sometimes one spirit in the family is always a source of problems, or the complainer or the rebel. Remember, those people in your life are spirits on their own journey, connected to you in this life for a reason. How many of you think you're just born randomly? It's okay if you do. It's all right. The thought, though, right, the belief, right, is the life you're living right now, you planned, right? When I die in this life and I cross over, right, I will be in this errant state. I will heal. I will get healthy. I will educate with the help of spirits, my guardian angel, my mentors. And together, right, I'm going to plan my next life. Right? There's some things that are kind of destined, right, that you can plan. Big things, socioeconomic status, geography, health concerns. You can actually plan for your own evolutionary purposes, for your own spiritual growth, hardships and challenges, right? Things that you haven't accomplished or yet mastered, right, to evolve. You kind of set yourself up to succeed, right? So the life you're living right now, in many, many ways, in many aspects, you planned out before you were born. By the grace of God, you have no knowledge of it, right? You have no knowledge why you're living with this woman that hates you, or this kid that doesn't respect you, or you have a boss that does everything he can to put you in the sun and give you a bad position, right? You can't remember why, but more than likely there's a reason, right? You owe them a debt, or vice versa. And now you have this ability in this life to deal with all these different traits and either respond aggressively and assertively in the sense of trying to find, to do back to them what they did to you, or vice versa, right? Or to respond and interact with them from a place of love, right? And be patient with them, be kind to them, pray for them, and eventually maybe see some progress or not. But at every one of these interactions with this type of person, right, connected to a spirit ultimately, you have the opportunity to react positively or negatively, compassionately or not. So it's all opportunities for growth. Those spirits that you interact with, those people that you interact with in this life, right, they could very well be spiritually weak, right? They could be leading a life of escape in many different ways, right? Who knows, right, how this can transfer over? But all of these things could be influencing how they act and how they interact with you. And that insecurity of these things can lead them to seeking attention with the grumpiness, with the anger, all those different things. So the family, therefore, is the primary cell of the social group. The stronghold where feelings and skills are developed and forged for global human relationships. Those aren't my words. That's right from the Family Constellation book. That's some pretty global human relationships, right? We are developing those in the family cell from an early age all the way through life. And in that household, in that family unit, we are not only interacting there, but we're learning the skills and the habits, or the bad habits, whatever it might be, on how to interact with humans throughout our life. So, good conduct in the home, right, maintains a pleasant and healthy life, right? Preparing children for the collective confrontations that will come to the future. And I don't, this is going to sound terrible, but no matter how good I try, I guarantee you I'm going to mess my kids up to some degree, right? I live with that every day, but that could be my Catholic guilt as a kid, yeah? Because I feel like I'm going to mess up, all right? And I do mess up every day. But we got to take the good with the bad, learn from our mistakes, and realize that we have an opportunity every day, right, to prepare those spirits, right, that are in our charge, that are in our care, for their future. And as we mess up, maybe one day, we fix it the next. We learn from these issues. So the take-home message is the family at home as well as the family here at the center, and that bigger family called society, right? Your workplace, the guy that cuts you off on I-4, the business that outperforms you in the business world, the boss that either likes you or doesn't like you, right? We're all tied together, right? And the interaction with each other is how we grow. Next time somebody does you wrong, I'm not suggesting that you have to give them a hug and tell them that you love them, right? But thank them. Not out loud if you don't want to, right? But just simply thank them, right? How's that boss today that messed you up years ago?
Probably good.
Yeah? Any animosity? None.
It's been a while that, no.
Feels good, right? Peter could have used that situation to hate this guy. Wish him ill will, hope he gets fired, hope he doesn't get promoted, he wants his job. But Peter found a way, right, to love that guy. Right? He prayed for him, and he has no animosity. That's awesome. That's a great example, right? That interaction that he had with that boss and the interaction that we all have with people that we interact with, they're required for our growth. We learn, right, how to practice love and charity in every adverse relationship that we have. We learn to be patient or not. We learn to reinforce aggression or retribution, or to foster love and peace in our heart for those people that do us wrong. Every time we don't act that way, we have this missed opportunity. And what happens? It creates an opportunity or a need for atonement. Peter's example with the boss, he solved that. Whatever angst he had with that person, with that spirit, it's been resolved on his part. He doesn't owe anything there, right? And we all have the ability to mend those fences. So don't spend a lot of time on it, but think about those relationships in this life that you could make better, that you could perhaps speed up the recovery in some way. And kind of put it in your mind that as we're coming towards Christmas, as we're moving into a new year, maybe that becomes one of our goals for next year. And this all starts at the home. So my job as a parent, my belief is one of them, is to help teach my kids how to overcome their conflicts on their own, make them responsible, but also show them the example with love and charity towards them. And then finally, I'll leave you with this. Matthew 22:33 through 40, right? If we can follow this, every moment of the day, life is going to be easy, right? It's hard, though. It's easy to read it, but it's hard to enact it in your life. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Easy to read, but hard to do. What do they mean by love your neighbor as yourself? Does neighbor just mean people you like? We all got neighbors. Some of them are nice, some of them aren't, right? Some of them we don't even know, right? Our neighbor is everybody around us. So in this room, the person to your left, the person to your right, the one in front of you, the one behind you, your neighbors right now. At your workplace, right? The person that you work with that you don't necessarily get along with, or they do whatever they can do to throw you a curveball now and then. They're your neighbor. If we can just try to love them as we love ourselves, we're going to act better towards them. So I'll leave you with this. I'll thank you for your attention, and my sincere apologies for being late tonight. Thank you for your patience.